Hopefully you guys can see me and hear me okay. I'm actually doing just kind of an impromptu live stream out of the courtyard here. I don't know. I know there's always a delay between when I start the live stream and when you guys can start to see it on your devices, your laptop, your computer, your phone, whatever. So just give me a comment. If you guys can see me okay, if you can hear me okay, give me a thumbs up or just say something in the chat. But most of you who are watching this, hey Amanda, thanks for making a comment there. I appreciate that. Most of you who watch this video, it's going to be afterwards. So just realize that it takes a while for YouTube to put the live chat up. So if you want to check that out, you'll have to wait a little bit of time. I don't remember how long it takes. It takes a little while though. I wanted to talk about a couple things just while they were on top of my mind. And I think this is the first live stream I've done on this channel. And I wanted to thank all of you for being a subscriber here. I know my primary channel has a few strikes, so I wanted to set this channel up as a backup and just as a place where I'd be able to do live streams. So this, I think, is the first live stream on this channel. So thank you for coming here. I wanted to talk about a couple things today and that will hopefully give you hope in where we are headed, for the direction worldwide. Really good things happening. If you aren't kind of on Twitter, on social media, you probably haven't heard about some of these things. If you are, then maybe you've seen some of these things already. But there have been protests, against jabs, against mandatory passports and all that kind of stuff in Japan and the Netherlands, in Canada, Australia, UK. I've seen great stuff in the US as well. So things are changing, folks. A lot of people are standing up, speaking out and saying, hell no, we're not going to do this. We're not going to comply, which is what we need. And I wanted to say a big thank you to all of you who are, getting positive messages out there, who are awakening people, doing the best you can, friends, family, colleagues, others, out there on the internet or in person. We are making a difference, and thank you for doing that. It's going to help us get to a much better place much faster than we otherwise would. Some really good things. I saw a video, came across, I think on Twitter. I think somebody posted it to what was it, TikTok or some other platform. Somebody reposted it on Twitter. It was video shot out of what looks like to be a high school in the US, where the superintendent or the principal or somebody was saying, came to the cafeteria and gave the kids basically 10 minutes to make a decision as to whether they would put their masks on or not. And if they didn't put the masks on, they were going to be suspended from school and kicked out. And, the kids protested, and they basically said, you told us before you're going to give us to the end of the week, and now you changed your tune and you're giving us 10 minutes and blah, 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 blah. So this is really good. I really have a good feeling that a lot of the younger generations are going to say, hell no. And that's the teens, that's the 20-somethings. I think they're gonna get sick, and they're gonna get fed up with this BS that they're having to deal with, either at college, at the university, in their high school, in their middle school. Real young kids, probably are too afraid and just don't know enough to be able to speak up for themselves, which is why we need to be a voice for them. They just haven't found their voice yet, and they don't know enough, and a lot of times they're scared because of what their teachers or the government or somebody else is going to tell them. But I think it's it's the teens and the 20-somethings that are going to probably be a pretty big, have a pretty big impact on things around the world. And it's amazing. Like, to me, it's super. Like, I'm disappointed when I see on social media all of the injuries that I see reported and the adverse side effects, major ones that are coming across, and they're being censored, folks. You know this if you've been looking. Like, if anybody comes out on social media and says, look, here's what happened to me or a friend or a family member, and either somebody died or they had some kind of a stroke, heart attack, something major, those videos get taken down. The people get deplatformed. They get punished for speaking out, which is a super disturbing thing, and it's really sad to see that kind of stuff. But I think more and more people are starting to wake up, and this kind of stuff, people are going to question things for different reasons. I see later today, Project Veritas is going to have on a whistleblower from the federal government. I don't remember which department or which area. I don't even know if they said in kind of the teaser promo they put out last night, I think is when I saw it. But they're going to, put the whistleblower's video out today, I think later this afternoon, maybe like 6 or 7 p.m. Eastern time or Central time here in the US. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of this. Each of these things that comes out, folks, is a big red pill for the people who are ready to be awakened. A lot of people are starting to question things that they wouldn't have otherwise 6 months ago, 12 months ago, 18 months ago, which is a really good thing. People are going to awaken to that. In the description of this video, I provide 2 links that I think would be beneficial. One, I provide, hey Wasp, how you doing? I provide a link to Max Egan's channel on BitChute. He puts out a lot of great content, just his own thoughts and interviews with other people and other videos that I think are important. He focuses a lot on Australia and New Zealand, but talks about things from a broader perspective as well. So I think that's super beneficial. Hey Julie, how you doing? So check that out. I also linked to a video that he put out just a few days ago. He interviewed a funeral director from the UK, and that you should watch that interview. I mean, the funeral director had a lot of really interesting things to say, that, and people who are like borderline ready to wake up, who are starting to question things, if they watch that video, the funeral director, his presentation that Max has on his site, it should wake up more people. So that's pretty cool, and that'll be hopefully helpful in this fight. Again, any content that anybody puts out there, that questions the official narrative is good. So look for those things, and just always, every single day, just pray, meditate, and visualize a better world, and for the forces of darkness, the evil motherfuckers that are out there that are doing this shit. I saw a video like just yesterday. I saw it. I don't know how old it is. I saw like a kid, like a toddler in preschool, being forced to put a mask on, and the kid was crying and trying to take it off, and the preschool teacher put it back on, and stuff like that just makes me absolutely irate. And I don't know how that video got out. Somebody obviously on the inside must have recorded that, but I see stuff like that, and I just want to smack somebody big time for just buying doing that to anybody. Even if you buy into the narrative, like even if I was like pro jab and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it, I would still stand up and defend the rights of people who don't want to do it. I mean, I've taken like the vaccines in the past, that like the measles, mumps, rubella. I went to Africa, so I took like the yellow fever vaccine and that kind of stuff. But it's like, to this, like, hell no. I don't know why people just have like taken the blue pill on things so hard and just become proponents of all these restrictions and just like crazy over multiple jabs. I mean, I think I saw in the UK that now they're only gonna, the pass is only gonna work if you have like your latest booster. So it's gonna be called the booster pass. So it doesn't matter if you've gotten 1 or 2 jabs, unless you stay up to date on their monthly or quarterly, injections, you're not going to be able to get into restaurants or shopping malls or concerts or bars or whatever. I see in the US, the Biden administration is considering that vax passports be required for airline travel. And if they're considering it, I imagine they'll probably try. Now, they may not do it directly, like they may not do it directly themselves, because they might say, well, we don't have the constitutional power to do that, to restrict that. But what they'll do is they're already like, they've given the airlines in the US immense amounts of money in bailouts, right? In the past 18 months, they've got the airlines, like, they've got them, right? So all they have to do is pressure the major airlines in the US, maybe we've got like 4 or 5 of them. That's all they have to get to. They just get to the major ones like Delta, American, United, a couple others, and they can just say, you've got to do this. Like, we really need your help on like enforcing this, and it's for public safety. And then Delta and United and American and all the rest will just say it's required for you to actually do this. Yeah, the federal government doesn't require it, but since we're a private company, we're going to require that you do this to keep our pilots safe, to keep our, stewards and stewardesses safe, and everybody who's traveling along with you safe, and blah, 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 blah. They're going to do that. It would not surprise me at all. So, just think about that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, there are a lot of things in life, like, I really enjoyed doing. I really enjoyed traveling, seeing different countries, seeing different cultures. But right now, I'm just like, you screw this. I mean, I guess I'll just like watch the National Geographic channel or something. Like, I've gone places, like, it's like I have no desire to do that. I'm certainly not going to take a jab or boosters to be able to go see someplace. It's just ridiculous. And that's actually, you know, a good time, good opportunity, for however long this lasts, is to just say, I'm not going to do that. Instead of jetting off someplace in an airplane to go on vacation, I'm just going to travel around the US or travel around Canada or wherever you are in your country. Just go see your country and visit, those kind of things. And just to the extent you can, if you're in Australia, you've got a lot of restrictions, and my heart goes out to you guys in Australia. I know I've got people in Australia right now that are really under the boot of tyranny. Some people are not, as much at least, but some areas are just like, it's pretty bad. I mean, I have zero respect for the police officers who are treating people like they are. If you've seen videos of the protests and what's happening in Australia, you'll be alarmed. It's not a good thing. We don't want that in Australia. We don't want that to come to the US, to Canada, to anywhere around the world. And I give my hats off to all of you Aussies who are standing up, speaking out and saying, hell no, we're not gonna do this. It just warms my heart when I see protests and see people pushing back. I mean, there was just yesterday, you have videos coming out on social media where crowds of people just basically, they were confronted with police and they just pushed through. They're just like, hell no, we're not gonna put up with this stuff. And we're gonna see more and more of that. People are gonna get upset, and we're gonna see, if this madness doesn't come to an end, we're gonna see justifiable pushback. We're going to see civil unrest, because when you tell somebody that they can't have a job anymore because they didn't get a jab, it's going to put people in a precarious position. Obviously your health is your primary form of wealth, right? I mean, it doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank if you're not healthy. So if people make that decision to put their health and their family's lives first, and they make the decision to not get the jab and lose their job as a result, you're going to have a lot of stressed out, angry people. And that's not a good scenario if you want to have a peaceful society. So I have no doubt, if these things don't end, we're going to see major conflicts in different ways in different areas around the world. So expect this. And I've mentioned this before, just make sure that one of the things you're doing is just making sure that you've got the stuff that you guys need. Basic supplies, some extra food. Make sure you have a full pantry. And some things, like, it's crazy. Like, if you paid attention to how long it takes to get certain things delivered to you, or like just basic things, it takes a long time. Like, my parents were remodeling their bathroom, and we are too. And it's like, we just needed new faucets and like a new shower head. My parents needed a new shower head, and they're like months on back order. Like, they're not going to come for months, and then might even be longer. It's like ridiculous. New cars are pretty hard to find that you could actually buy in the US, at least, because of the shortage of chips. We have major backlogs of cargo ships off the West Coast in the US and probably elsewhere. And based on what I've seen, what I've learned, and what other people are saying as well, it almost seems to be almost like a coordinated thing. Wouldn't surprise me, coordinated by the crazy ass, like, psychopaths in power, in positions of power around the world, that they want this to happen. I think I've seen, like, politicians just recently even kind of jokingly say, like, you better get your Christmas presents now. So if you need something, if you want something in the near future, I would suggest that you strongly consider getting that thing, whatever it might be, whether it's emergency food or Christmas gifts, or if you're looking for a new vehicle in 6 months, you might want to get one. I actually went and bought, just like a month ago, I went and bought a used vehicle because they really didn't have any new vehicles that I wanted. So I bought a super low mileage used vehicle, and I just, like, I knew I might want it, like, as a spare, like, as my primary vehicle. I'll replace that normally in a year or two, but until I see what's going on with everything, I'm not going to do that. So just, for things that that you're going to need, or that you might need, you might want to consider them, getting them sooner rather than later. I keep seeing reports about empty store shelves, in the US and elsewhere, but like in the US, there's a lot of photos and videos that'll come out of, stores like Walmart or Costco or grocery stores, where a lot of things are just empty. And, I do most of my shopping online and just have it delivered. But even when I go on to, like, the app that allows me to order, like, just common stuff is often like out of stock, stuff that never would have been out of stock before, never, ever, ever. And so for me, it's just like a temperature gauge, right? It's a canary in the coal mine. And I started talking about this probably before any of you were a subscriber on my main channel. Started talking about it like November, December of 2019, before COVID came around the corner. I talked about the Federal Reserve reverse repo market, and that basically what that means, it's a bunch of technical lingo. That basically means if the banks in the US run out of money and they need cash, they have to go back to Big Daddy, the Federal Reserve, and ask for it. They have to get a loan. And it was alarming because back then, at the end of 2019, I think the overnight repos were like in 200 or 300 million. I could be totally off. It's just spitballing it from memory. But now, like last night, they continue to hit new records. Like last night, the federal overnight repo, hit like 1.2 trillion just overnight, right? And that's a systemic issue. Now, history never repeats itself in the same way, but it usually rhymes. That's what they say, right? Now, back in the great financial crisis of 2007 and 2008, a lot of people just were blindsided. And it, kind of started in the US with like Lehman Brothers going under and a whole bunch of stuff ensued. But, people were like, how could we have seen this? Like nobody knew. But hindsight, when you go back and look at things, it was clear that the Federal Reserve was covering some stuff up and they were saying everything's going to be okay. And they were saying that in 2006. And as we know, things weren't okay. But it was like an early indicator that there were problems, right? So now, skip ahead to now. And just like 2 weeks ago, like in the past week or two, the Federal Reserve stopped publishing a report that they produced for decades called GDP Now. This is where they basically, put out information on how well the U.S. economy is doing, and they can revise estimates, if necessary. And just like 2 weeks ago, maybe a week ago, on Friday, they always do this on Friday, right before the government, before the weekend, so nobody pays attention. Everybody's got their mind on the weekend. They stopped publishing the report GDP Now, and they removed historical data, which is a weird thing. And they're like, oh, it's complications with COVIDs, can't publish that anymore. But one branch of the Federal Reserve in Atlanta, they actually came out with the report. They revised GDP of the U.S. down by 40%. That's a 40% reduction in the GDP estimates that were out there. Now, no wonder the Federal Reserve just decided to stop producing that report, because if they had produced that report like they had always been doing, the financial markets would have had gone through a period of turmoil. We would have undoubtedly seen a crash or a major correction. But because they stopped producing the report, we didn't see anything about that on the mainstream media, on the mainstream news channels related to business, investing, finance. We didn't see that there. They didn't talk about it. And so it's like the house of cards just keeps getting bigger. But you look at that kind of stuff, and it's just, in my opinion, it is just an early warning signal. When you look at the overnight repo rates, like how much money the banks need on a nightly basis, like 1.2 trillion, and then you see that the GDP in the U.S. has been downgraded by 40%, and that we are printing money like there's no tomorrow, that we are taking on enormous amounts of debt, at historical rates. In the U.S., we're going to have major problems. In China, they're having a major problem with one of their big real estate firms or real estate banks just basically went bankrupt. And that's going to cause undoubtedly some contagion to start in China. And that's going to spread. Like when the financial crisis in 07, 08 hit the U.S., it spread worldwide. It hit Canada, it hit Australia, it hit Europe. It spreads because we're all interconnected. So undoubtedly, if we have problems in the U.S. and or China, and probably both places, we're going to have some major issues. Combine that with shipping and logistics problems, and we could end up having a really tough time. Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows how bad it's going to be or how long it's going to last? My hope is that enough people wake up to the current narrative, the health issue that's out there, where we can finally say enough with this BS. and hopefully it will erode. I'm honestly hoping for like a complete collapse of the US government and governments all around the world, at least in terms of confidence that people put in politicians and the government structures and systems that are in place. We really need that. We need to be able to rebuild from scratch. You know, in America, we've got this like nice little saying that we're the home of the free and the land of the brave, or land of the free, home of the brave. And it's like, we're neither. We're neither. People think that we're free in the US. We're not. The US is a corporation. We are basically assets of the corporation. We are basically free range tax cattle. Everything we do in the US and pretty much every other, you know, First Nation country, it's starting to rain here, so I'm gonna move a little bit. We're taxed. There's basically no area of our life that is not restricted or regulated or taxed by government. You can't get married, you can't drive a vehicle, can't go hunting, can't go fishing, can't buy a business, can't get a job, can't buy a house, can't remodel a house, blah, 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 without having to go through red tape and pay the government fines, fees, or taxes. They're all taxes, and get their permission, get their blessing on it. And so we're not free. We haven't been for a long time in the US, or really pretty much anywhere else. And so we need to realize that we are not free, that we lost freedom a long time ago, and that we need to get it back. And I think the only way we can get that back is to have a complete collapse of what we call government and the financial system and the economy and all that kind of stuff. And that kind of collapse, that kind of restructuring would be painful for everyone. But at the other end of that, it could be really beneficial. It could really, we could see a much more free humanity after that, because we're all slaves to the financial system. The financial system has kept so many people in poverty and just caused an incredible amount of destruction, you know, all around the world. So hopefully we can change that sometime in the near future. Anyway, that's I think the things that I wanted to talk about, just mention. Just keep your hopes up, though. Really good things are happening around the world. I know we have a million problems that we need to solve around the world, and they're big ones. They're not small ones. But one thing at a time, and we can accomplish really great things, right? A journey of 1,000 miles begins with one single step, and that's what we have to do. And that goes for what you do too. I mean, just you know, it often feels like you can't change the world with a single video, a single text message, a single post on Facebook, Twitter, social media, whatever, a single conversation with somebody. But each of those things adds up, and it makes an impact over the long run in a much bigger way than individual actions, just kind of one-off type things. So thank you guys all again for joining, and thank you again for subscribing to this channel and allowing me to get to the position where I could actually do live streams from this channel, because this is super useful. And one of the things, you know, I'll do a live stream some evening, and we'll do a longer live stream where we can have a conversation. I can sit at a laptop and I can actually answer your questions in the live chat or interject my own stuff. But at least that's one of the things I love about live streams, is that you have that live chat. Anyway, as a last reminder, check out those links in the description of this video. I link off directly to Max Igan's channel on BitChute. I would recommend you subscribe there if you're not already following his stuff. And also I link directly to that video, that interview he did with the UK funeral director. A lot of good things are happening, folks. I really have a lot of faith in, I guess, the universe, you know, God, source, higher self stuff. A lot of people who are channelers or tarot card readers, or who are into like the spiritual esoteric stuff, they see a lot of good things happening, basically starting now. And I think, you know, over the next 2 weeks, we can see some really great things happen. Like I said, Project Veritas is coming out with something tonight that is hopefully going to be something big, where we have a federal employee coming out as a whistleblower as to what's going on with the current health crisis narrative. And hopefully that will help wake up more people, and more, each and every person that we wake up is somebody that comes over to the side of like sanity and can help us get to a much, much better place. Anyway, till I'll see you guys next time, I wish you all the best of luck in whatever it is you're doing. Stay positive, do something you enjoy, get out in nature, as long as it's not raining, snowing, hailing, whatever it is, wherever you are, and just do something you love every single day. Until I see you next time, good luck, God bless, Godspeed.